Man, tried to create a turtle in here myself, just didn't work. Welcome to my laboratory, I'm DrScreams. Today we delve deep beneath the sewers to dig up all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies you're never gonna see. Will we ever get a true legacy sequel to the original TMNT live-action movie trilogy? Maybe. We came so close back in the late 90s to getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. It would have been a true continuation of the original classic, pulling those Jim Henson costumes out of the closet once again. This fourth TMNT movie brought a lot to the table, from a fifth turtle named Kirby to evil April O'Neil and a super shredder that would have decimated New York. Sadly, despite several attempts to make this go and a bunch of different titles, Ninja Turtles 4 was a wash. Why didn't it happen, and will we ever see these turtles in a half shell live in the flesh ever again? That's a good question. Today we look at all the attempts to resurrect the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action saga. So holster your nunchucks, grab a slice of pizza, and pile into the party wagon as we take a look at all the TMNT movies you're never gonna see. So what happened? Donnie, Leo, anybody? Just as the 90s started to wind down, plans for a new TMNT movie heated up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 was set in motion. It would have aligned more with the original 1990s film than the two sequels. Sadly, we'll never see it, but we do know what fans missed out on. And it was pretty crazy. The Next Mutation. Playmates let the cat out of the bag when their 1996 toy catalog revealed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 was on the way. The sequel had been planned as far back as 1994, with both creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird contributing ideas. The sequel went through many title changes. The earliest version of TMNT 4 was called The Next Mutation. It returned to the dark tone of the Jim Henson movie and the comics upon which it was based. The four Turtle brothers would mutate again due to the transformative effects of the mutagen in their blood. This gave them an all-new look, new abilities, and a whole bunch of new problems. Donatello got the least obvious makeover. He now had telekinetic and telepathic powers. His diminishing eyesight was saved by vision-enhancing goggles, and his bow staff was given a techno upgrade. Leonardo's skin could morph into a nearly indestructible chrome-like surface. He now wore a rising sun bandana and had a cool new utility belt. Michelangelo could project a human appearance, helping him hide in the crowded city. He also adopted an all-new wardrobe that made him look like a street-tough biker. Kids love monsters, so fan favorite Raphael was transformed into Raptor Ralph, capitalizing on Jurassic Park's popularity at the time. This gave the turtle big sharp claws and teeth. He looked pretty scary. The turtle sensei morphed into a super rat mutant. He'd join in on more of the battles, and he could now use his tail as a whip. The turtles would have traveled through a dimensional doorway where they would have met a fifth turtle named Kirby, named after comic book legend Jack the King Kirby. Concept art shows Kirby looking like the Predator with dreads. The early script drafts for The Next Mutation have never been shared with the public. It's a mystery, one that we're not gonna solve in this video. But just like the mutating turtles, the screenplay soon morphed into something else. DrScreams needs to take a break and get some water. Take a special scientific tip from DrScreams: stay hydrated in the summertime. The Foot walks again. New Line Cinema canceled TMNT 4 and the Motion Picture Corporation of America snapped up the rights. Kevin Eastman continued working on the sequel, but now the project was being called TMNT 4, The Foot Walks Again. Several scripts were written, with many of the ideas and characters from The Next Mutation finding their way into this new reboot. The Foot Walks Again would have still introduced us to a fifth turtle named Kirby, but the dreadlocks were gone. This time the fifth turtle wore a white bandana and had tiger-striped skin. Eastman's concept art for Kirby also shows him in a black and magenta-colored bandana. His flail was gone, and it was now replaced by spiky-handled daggers. Perhaps the sequel's biggest change and most exciting contribution to the existing lore was the introduction of evil April O'Neil. She looked like a punk rock zombie from Return of the Living Dead, and she came packing ninja skills. She was quite proficient with both a sword and throwing stars. Or shrinkins, shrinkadinks. Help me out, ninjas, what is it called? Throwing star. We'll stick with that. Was she an alternate dimension doppelganger? Was she possessed? Or was she somehow corrupted by the Foot Clan? It's one of those mysteries that has never been revealed to the public. Super Shredder, who first appeared in Secret of the Ooze, would have returned unmasked and resurrected by nanobots. Casey Jones also got a reboot. He came packing electric fists, and his first name was now spelled with a K, hinting that maybe he was from an alternate dimension? I don't know. The sequel would have given Fang his live-action debut. There was also a new cyborg villain called Nano Spider. Other characters included a gun-wielding human called Talbot, Lawson, who used power gauntlets not unlike the one coveted by Thanos, and a human cyborg named Bugman. The Footwalks Again was eventually canceled for reasons that aren't quite clear and never have been. The title was resurrected for an episode of the 2012 TMNT animated series. It had the modern Turtles teaching their 1980s counterparts how to be real ninjas. A dig at the fact that the original cartoon series and movie franchise never let the Turtles use their weapons that much. Not for fighting, anyways. This episode also contained Freddy Krueger and RoboCop Easter eggs. Weird! The production road for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 is a little bit hazy. All the facts on why it was kicked around and canceled have never been completely aired out with the public. It remains a mystery. TMNT IV, aka TMNT 4. TMNT IV. Playmates simply called this sequel TMNT 4 using Roman numerals for an old school Star Wars vibe. The toy company revealed a synopsis for the movie that read, "Look out for the fourth and hottest Turtles feature film ever. It's a weird world of parallel dimensions and gothic proportions." Playmates was ready to back this initiative with a multi-million-dollar promotional campaign and what they called a massive mound of mutant movie turtle toys. Their amazing tagline, "Watch the toy market go to shell this year." That gets me pumped. Overall, they promised a mega mutant bodacious blockbuster. But it didn't happen. Playmates noted that the sequel was now coming from Trimark Pictures. TMNT 4 was set to arrive in theaters for the 1996 holiday season. Was it gonna be a Christmas movie? I don't know. Sadly, none of these versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 ever made it to the multiplex. Neither did any of the amazing toys that Playmates promised. That brings us to Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation. The Next Mutation did come closest to materializing when an all-new live-action series arrived using the same title. Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation abandoned most of the previous concept work that had already been completed. And it only lasted one season. A lot of Turtle fans consider this show a blight on the franchise. They do not consider it canon. They wish it had never happened in the first place. If it had made it to season 2, we would have got a reworked version of Evil April O'Neil. Kevin Eastman turned Evil April into an alternate dimension empress called Stilzar, who controlled an intergalactic robot army. She was based on Eastman's wife at the time, model and actress Julie Strain, who was probably gonna play Evil April in the movie. But she didn't. By the end of the 1990s, all iterations of TMNT 4 had been thrown in the trash. But nothing as popular as Ninja Turtles stays dormant for long. Turtles. Yes, it's just called Turtles. Turtles. In 2001, these teens were finally ready to make their comeback. Steve Barron, director of the original 1990 TMNT live-action movie, was returning for a Hallmark miniseries. It was teased as a 2-night, 4-hour mega mutant action extravaganza, simply called Turtles. It would have blended CGI mutants with live actors, ditching the popular Jim Henson-style puppet costumes altogether. This small-screen adventure was going for a darker, more streetwise view of the characters. It was pulling its tone from the original comics, touted as an atmospheric and spectacular reinvention of the franchise. Where have we heard that before? All things considered, this was a weird choice for Hallmark, a basic cable channel known for its adult thrillers, rom-coms, and Christmas movies. What were the Turtles doing here? I don't know. Leaked concept art for this Hallmark miniseries revealed a lot. Raphael was getting tatted up. One scene would find the Foot Clan wading into a piranha pool while Mikey watches eating pizza. Another scene had the teens pulling on winter coats to save Splinter from a derelict funfair. And there was going to be a giant fight scene on a train. All fun stuff. One of the biggest revelations about this Hallmark miniseries is that it would have marked the return of Shredder, who reveals himself to be a fifth turtle and the teens' long-lost brother. Like the words Fetch and Rufus, they were really trying to make this fifth turtle happen. Peter Laird revealed that part of the story revolved around an astral plane with a ton of wild action taking place inside this mystic realm. Laird also showed off a beetle-like creature called a Shreddant, which was described as an astral plane avatar. Pretty weird. Even with Steve Barron on board, this was not a continuation of the 1990 movie, it stood as its own thing. If it had gone according to plan, Turtles would have premiered on the Hallmark Channel sometime between May 2003 and May 2004. But the director bailed before shooting could even begin. The whole enterprise went straight into the dumpster again, right alongside the Next Mutation and the Footwalks again. Enter John Woo. Yes, that John Woo. Action director extraordinaire John Woo, responsible for such classics as Hard Boiled and Face Off, was in the mix to create a $40 to $60 million budgeted CG animated TMNT feature film with Digital Rim Entertainment. Woo loved the Turtles. He called TMNT one of the greatest action-adventure properties ever. His plan was to take the teens back to their darker, edgier comic book roots. A reoccurring theme for all of these canceled Ninja Turtle movies. Kids be damned. They were pretty much making these for adults, right? At this point? Woo's TMNT plans were short-lived and he soon moved on to other projects. It's believed this abandoned version was vastly different from the animated film that we did get. Which now brings us to the TMNT sequels! Who's excited about those? You're right, nobody. Speaking of that CG animated movie, it arrived in spring 2007 and it was simply called TMNT. It was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie to hit theaters in over 14 years. It was supposed to get several sequels. A trilogy was even planned by director Kevin Monroe. TMNT 2 would have loosely adapted the 13-part comic book saga City at War. Rat King was even gonna make an appearance. That's pretty cool. TMNT 3 would have introduced the Triceratons, and we would have gotten Technodrome's arrival from Dimension X. Michael Clark Duncan was wanted as Triceraton leader Commander Mozar. At some point in there somewhere, the Turtles would have gone back in time to explore Mayan culture, just as an evil alien race arrived via teleportation. I mean, how convenient. Peter Laird nixed this idea, feeling it had already been done in 1993's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. This sure was an ambitious slate, so why did it crumble and fade away? Imagi, the animation studio behind the CG adventure, went bankrupt. Kevin Monroe left the studio, and the proposed sequels all wound up in the trash heap, right along with the rest of them. Peter Laird wasn't completely finished with this version of the franchise, though. He wanted to make a live-action CGI hybrid continuation with TMNT cast members Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Evans, who voiced April O'Neil and Casey Jones, respectively. They would have returned to play their characters in the flesh. That idea was jettisoned before it could become anything more than a flight of fancy for the Turtles co-creator, Young Guns Turtles. With Imagi's animated movies dead and buried, a new live-action movie coming from Young Guns writer John Fusco was announced. It was planned for release in 2011 and would retell the origin story of the legendary foursome. This would have been a complete reboot, but Nickelodeon swooped in and snatched up the rights, putting a kibosh on the whole short-lived project. Sorry rats, no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Western this time, which is really too bad. I was really rooting for a Dirty Steve cameo. Someday the ghost of Dirty Steve may return. With this version off the table, Nickelodeon announced their own live-action TMNT movie planned for 2012, and oh boy did it set off a firestorm. I was there, I lived it. Everybody was upset. People were screaming, throwing cans of soda at their computer screens. They couldn't believe what they were seeing coming out of Michael Bay's office. This was worse than when fans got their first glimpse at Sonic. A script called The Blue Door leaked. It was for Michael Bay's live-action Turtles movie, and fans did not welcome it with open arms. Scheduled to hit theaters 2013, this version of the TMNT reboot made huge changes to both the Turtles and Turtles lore, upsetting everyone who'd waited since 1993 to see these teens return in a live-action movie. The internet was bombarded by complaints after initial concept art leaked. Shredder had been transformed into a new character called Colonel Schrader, and the Turtles themselves, they were now part of some strange alien race. They looked wildly different, resembling skinny gray aliens encumbered by a huge half-shell. Michael Bay heard the outcry loud and clear. He claimed that the leaked art and the script were not from the movie he was working on. but instead from an earlier unused draft. Though what he gave us in 2014 wasn't much better. Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Yeah, there was gonna be 3 of these things, can you believe it? Now don't put this on me, but fans didn't necessarily like Michael Bay's TMNT movies, so we never got a 3rd installment. But it was supposed to be a trilogy. Megan Fox signed on to do another sequel alongside all of the Turtle actors. Tyler Perry would have returned as Baxter Stockman, mutating into his fly form. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows proved to be a financial disappointment, so the plug was pulled before a 3rd movie could go before cameras. Toss this all in the trash! Michael Bay hasn't buried his Turtles yet. A completely new live-action reboot was supposed to start shooting in 2019. That stalled on the runway. Paramount took all the negative reactions to Michael Bay's first 2 Turtle films to heart. They went back to the table deciding whatever came next needed to be next level. In August 2021, it was announced that a reboot was back in development, with Michael Bay returning as producer. Things have been quiet on that front for quite a while, but we hope to have an update on the new live-action reboot very soon. That brings us to the all-new TMNT animated movie, Mutant Mayhem. Mayhem is a pig that was born right before summertime. Don't cancel me! Now, we don't have all the answers here in the laboratory, but it sounds like Paramount is allowing Mutant Mayhem ample time to breathe before they make any more formal announcements about a live-action reboot. Coming from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, the team behind Superbad and The Boys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem was a hit, fans loved it, and a sequel is on the way, along with an all-new animated TV show on Paramount Plus called Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which serves as a bridge between movies. The Mutant Mayhem cast returns with Leo, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey facing new threats that will split them apart before reuniting them in Mutant Mayhem 2. They will fight a much scarier Shredder, as teased in the original's post-credit scene, putting Superfly to shame. Mutant Mayhem is expected to spin off into several animated feature films. These will most likely revolve around the franchise's iconic villains. Maybe we'll even see a Joker-esque live-action movie about Shredder and his mommy issues. Never can tell with these things. So where does that leave us? Empty-handed when it comes to getting a true TMNT 4 legacy sequel. Michael Bay is still attached to an all-new live-action reboot. Saturday Night Live favorite Colin Jost and his younger brother have been hard at work on the screenplay for a while now. No one really knows what this reboot's gonna look like just yet, but fans definitely want to see those Jim Henson-style puppet suits back in action. Sparking even more interest in a true TMNT 4 live-action sequel is John Likens' test footage found on YouTube, which reboots the Turtles' costumes for a darker, grittier take on the franchise. We see Leonardo outnumbered and up against the wall fighting the Foot Clan along with Donatello back in action. John's goal is to create a new live-action movie or TV show that could possibly serve as a direct sequel to the original 1990 TMNT movie, but there is no official link to this teaser in the official franchise. John does promise more is on the way, so keep your eyes peeled for that over at John Likens' YouTube channel. The question remains, will we see a true legacy sequel to the original Teenage Mutant Ninja live-action trilogy, even after all of these near misses? Maybe. That's it for us today. If you enjoyed this video, smack that like button with your nunchucks, subscribe, then call your grandma and tell her you just saw her future boyfriend talking about turtles on YouTube. Until then, you can catch us at Mama's Brick Oven in Pasadena chowing down on a slice of anchovy and banana pizza. Say hi and we might even buy a Coke for you. Do you hear that? It's the Hellhounds. Goodbye.